Hello everyone. Today I am going to discuss some important question that is related to Angular, which is asked in many MNC and every organization I can say who is looking for the Angular developers. So some most important question I am going to share and explain you how the question is asking and what is the important question you can prepare for upcoming interviews. So some of the content I already mentioned here, and I will going to discuss each and everything one by one. First of all, starting to anything, just what it is a Angular and what is the goal of Angular, we will discuss. So like everyone know like what is the Angular. If you're front end background or you are a full stack developer, you know like Angular why we are using. And normally what the people thinking like it is a SPA. Candidate mainly answer this question by saying it is a SPA, or some say it is a JavaScript UI framework and all and so on, I can say. But I suggest a more detailed way, in holistic way, to what you send a message to the interviewer, but that you really know Angular and you are the right candidate. So Angular is a JavaScript binding framework which bind the HTML UI and JavaScript model. This help you to reduce your effort on writing those lengthy lines of code for binding. Adding it also help you to build SPA by using the concept of routing. It has also a lot of other features like HTTP, DI dependency injection, input output, because of which you do not need other framework. So this is the like some of the feature. That's why we are going to the Angular. And so when you are answering the question, please answer it in a more detailed way and not just one liner. So you can say like HTML UI, then it is a binding and going to binding to home. It is going binding for performing on the model one. Model maybe in anything as per your requirement. Now next question we have, after the goal of Angular, there is a directive. So what are the directives in Angular and how many types of directive exist in there? So directive, it names suggest it help you to attach behavior in the HTML DOM. For example, in the below code, ng model is a directive which has been attached to the text box, bind to the text box value to my variable. You can say input ng model, the name of that variable is my variable name, type is a text, and value you are by default we are giving the null value. So as per your convenience, you can create the name of variable with the help of ng model and type with a text or password. What you are trying, you can type there. And coming to the types of directive in Angular, there is a structural directive. Structural directive change the DOM layout by adding removing element. I can say like using the some syntax we have like if or for, like that. You can say I here attach one example, ng for let temp of call, then I call one, like I can say this call one value of value of this call one we are transferring into temp one, and this temp one going to bind all the entity of the customer name, customer ID, customer date, like that. So it is a like structural directive where you are going to add or remove something element for your project, for your component, I can say. Next we have a attribute directive. It is like going to change the look and feel of this component or UI, going to change the appearance of behavior of HTML element. Like you can say hide one of the property I'm using here, just for the example, some text. You can use the like some color and font purpose. You can also use this one. So this is the like attribute directive example. Next is a component directive. It directive with template. It is like user control. Like if you are know some ASP background, ASP.NET background, so you know user control what we are having. We are just creating some common functionality. Like I know from date to date and some filter to export the dashboard, export the data for the dashboard or for the report purpose. So I have to be take each and every page. So why I will create each and every page? I just create one user control and I will inscribe in our project or inscribe in our form where I need this. So similarly, this component directive also acting as custom directive. Sometime we are telling, and where we want to use that some common portion, we can inscribe that. Or if our MVC, so I can consider in the MVC like we have some partial view and we are injecting in our form. Similarly, in the component directive we are using here. You can see this is the example I'm giving: my grid data, then sales model obj my grid name. Next, I have question regarding this data binding and different types of the same. So data binding define how the view and component communicate with each other. There are 4 types of binding in Angular as shown below: expression and interpolation. It is a one thing, just giving the name. Sometime what we are knowing like the some double curly braces is a knowing the interpolation. So just for the example purpose I am giving here, it represents the data flow from component to the view, and we can mix the same with HTML tag. So it is a interpolation expression. Next we have a property binding. It means like data flow from component to the view. Next we have a event binding. When you want to send event from one view to component, that time we are using the event binding. Next we have a two-way binding. It represented as a, you can see every time we have a structural, we have a symbol. So keep in mind what is the symbol representing, what is the meaning of that symbol. If this is a square bracket, is a property binding. If a small bracket, this is a event binding. If it's a combination of both property and event, I can say, so it will go as a two-way data binding. In this data flow from component to view and vice versa, we can transfer from this component to view or view to component. As here we have a pictorial form, so you can just understand this. Okay, next question I have, what is the basic component involved in Angular? If you are coming to the Angular, some component which is highly recommended when you are creating anything, so you know what is that component we are using in Angular. So this terms, every interviewer is a basic question asking what is the component in the Angular. So what the feature, what is the property, what is the event, I can say one type we are using in Angular, that is coming on the component. So I am already giving the name of that template, component, model, services we are creating, so it is a one of the component. Then module, directory, binding, as all I discussed before this question. So all this comes under the component. Dependency injection is a major component. So naming I am each and everything. Template is the HTML view of Angular. Component bind the view and model. If you are giving the answer, this is the component and this is the template, so just explain what is the working or what is the functionality of this component. Models means group component logically. Binding define how the view and component communicate. Directory, as you can see, we have a structural attribute or component directive to change the HTML DOM behavior. Services help to share the common logic across the project. And last, dependency injection. It is a help to inject instance across constructor. We are injecting services with the help of constructor. Next we have a question like, what is the difference between the AngularJS versus Angular? Before the Angular there is AngularJS, so after that is Angular coming. So what is the major changes we have seen? So these are the some basic component you can see. Language wise, it is a JavaScript, it is a TypeScript. Architecture is a controller. Angular have a component. Mobile component support, no. Angular support, yes. CLI, no, yes. Lazy loading, no, yes. SEO and the AngularJS, nothing, but Angular have. Server side AngularJS supporting, no, but Angular have. So these are the some basic new additional feature which is comes under the Angular 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 and many more. Okay, next question I have, what are the component and models in Angular? As said in one of the previous question, I can say in the binding framework it bind the UI, and model component nothing but is a binding of UI and model. So component is where you write your binding code. Component bind the UI and model. So model groups component, and in a big project we have a lot of UI, component and models. You can logically group them by using the modules. This is the pictorial form where we can properly understand how the structure is connected to module and component and model and UI. So UI it is connected as I can say component connected to the model, and combination of this comes under one logical group. I can say it is a module. Next question we have, what are the decorator in Angular? Decorator are metadata which is applied decorator on the class level as shown. You can see here we have a decorator, this add component on the class, and it is treated as an Angular component. If you decorate ng module 1 on the class, it become an Angular module. You can see we have a next example, ng module, export class my module. It is a type of decorator. Next we have a, what is a metadata or annotation in Angular? So as you know, like it is a annotation also termed as a decorator, so that's why we sometime calling is annotation also. Okay, next I have, what is a template in Angular? And Angular template is a HTML view where you can use the Angular directive. You can write template in two ways. One is inline template, or you have the separate HTML file and link the same. Below is a simple code of inline template where the HTML is written in the code itself. It's a component template h1 test you are written. Then normally class app component I declare here. Next I have same below is the code where we have a template as a separate HTML. To define the separate template, we not use the template URL. You can see this example component template URL, then this location we are giving where we are component exporting or using, this giving the URL, and export class app component, like it is like referring where from which one, which path. Okay, next I have this question, what is a SPA and how to implement in Angular. So as I in the starting I explained, like if anyone asking what is Angular, so sometime candidate giving the answer it is a SPA type of thing, SPA type of application we are creating using the Angular. Yeah, we know it is SPA, but how we can additional feature on that. So SPA stand for the single page application. Single page application or application where the main UI get loaded once and then the needed UI or data is loaded rather than making a full post back. So it is example of like website, we have a master page and some event terms they measure template. So a typical master page has a left menu, footer, top banner and so on. So the master page get loaded once and then on demand. So depending on which link the user other pages are loaded, the main master page is not loaded again and again. So I have this pictorial form also. In Angular it is implemented by the using lazy routing concept. So SP or single page application are those applications where the main page is loaded once and other pages get loaded on the demand. So you can see it is we have a banner or footer or menu. So load what is needed. So what we have a static thing here, menu and banner and footer. And when we are clicking on the menu option, so basis on that click event, the page goes loaded here. So it is, I can say, performing with the help of lazy routing, and it is each and every time get loaded, not the whole thing, demand loaded, I can say. Next question we have, explain the importance of routing in Angular and how do we implement the same. So routing is a major component in the Angular. Without that, this application is can't be completed because we are navigating one view to another view. So this is the help. This is because of the routing. So routing help you define the navigation for your Angular application. So if you want to move from one screen to other screen and you want to respect SPA, that means not loading and refreshing the whole UI routing is needed. So that's why this routing component is a major important role here. In order to implement routing, we need to use the routing module of Angular. So we need to do the following step, like create routing collection which define the URL path, which component to load for the URL. I can say this is a simple example we have. Export const patient root, then we have a path. It's by default path in the component, we are going to load this patient home component. Then in the login one, we are going to log in this, loading this patient login page component. So it is like a routing on this path which component going to load. If anyone clicking on the login menu option, so this component going to load, and by default as a home or dashboard we have this patient home component. So like this navigation and routing is started or like working. Later this routing collection is loaded using the route module using the for root or for child as shown in the code below. So like if you have a we have a two things in here, I can say. For root is like parent purpose and for child means it have a sub component, so that's why it is known as a for child. So root router module dot for root, it is like parent or patient root, we are just navigating or like referring here. You can see this name, we are just referring here. And if we can use the router link directly on HTML anchor tag or TS, we can navigate this using router dot navigate. If I need one by one, so I can perform with the help of this anchor tag also. So for that we have syntax like this: router link, then giving the home option, then again same for the login or same other contacts. There are different lists we want, so we can provide with the help of this anchor tag also. And when the navigate happen, the UI get loaded into the router outlet tag. Router outlet is a reserved tag in which the UI load when routing happen. So this is the major role performing this all the action. Okay, so till now I cover some of the good question, and if you need more question on this, please comment. I will give more video on this with the sufficient question for the next part 2, I can say. So please comment it here, And if you like, please like, share and subscribe this channel. Thank you.